Hey guys, it's me, Sylvia. Um, hey 313. Hey pretty brown eyes. Hey boss lady. You was waiting for me all day. Hey red bunny. You're up. Well, I've been laying here just you know how you just lay and you just start thinking about everything and I was listening to this YouTuber, and you know how they do like um story time of things that's happening to them, and he was sharing some stuff that happened in his life, and he was being transparent, and I thought it was really really interesting. And then the thing too, that early in the day I was watching Tasha K, and she was sitting inside her closet, and she was talking about transparency, but she also was talking about how her friends and stuff get upset when she puts them in her commentary, like, and she was saying how she's talking about her life experience and it's stuff that happened to her, even though these people is part of it, it's her life experience, and that's what how her channel became, is because she was being transparent with her people. So it was very interesting. Very interesting. Hey, hey. Um, so I just been like taking a break from YouTube this today. I didn't feel like getting on there, but I wanted to stick on stuff that was like positive, Um, hey, Erica. I know I didn't get a chance to do my affirmations, which I definitely, whenever I do them, I feel better, and I needed to do them. So, liquor is a high grade. What? So three. Okay, you're talking about liquor. I've been taking a break too. I've been getting ready for Christmas. Yeah. The lucky thing is I don't have to get anything for anybody for Christmas. Dallas and I talked about it today, and she's in Vegas right now. She's in Vegas, um, enjoying her couple of days off. So that's what she's doing. Are you drinking Patron? No alcohol for me. I don't drink. I don't do that drinking stuff. So how's everybody's day going? How is everything going for everybody? I've been checking out some of the posts that Jennifer has been putting out. Um, she seems extremely, extremely positive. Seemed like she's gonna go head on and hit the real points. I'm excited. I can't wait to I can't wait to read the motion that she submitted. I see some things that are being spread and on the YouTube, and so I try to stay out of that stuff. But I wanted to share some stuff with you guys I read today. I was reading an article of this man who actually married. He's 90 years old, guys. 90 years old, and he married a 20-year old. 90 and married a 20-year old. Can you believe that? 90. 90. What the heck can a 90-year-old do with a 20-year-old? Not only did he marry her, this is in Nigeria, he married three other women, young. and divorced the other three. So he had four new wives. 90. Is that weird or what? Yes, 90. 90. He married her 90. And he married three other women. So he married a total of four new wives. He got rid of three. Yes, 90 years old. There is nothing that old man could do for those 20-year-olds. Absolutely nothing other than die off and leave the money to them. That's it. What do you think? That's all he can do is die off and leave the money. 90, 20, 90. I mean, that's like great great grandchild. You get what I'm saying? And he's supposed to be a king. They're his personal helper. Yeah. Yeah, help him get in and out of bed. Help to bathe him. Help change his diaper. Yeah, that's what he's that's what he's good for. Oh my God. Oh, you could imagine the wrinkles all up in that body. And he probably can't even do anything. Can you imagine that? So that's what I read today. I was reading just different articles to bring the some awareness of some things. And I did take a look at Jaceline case, and I wanted to play something for you. Hold on a second, if I could find the other phone, and I could play it for you guys so y'all can hear what I got to play. Hold on, I got the other phone right here. Hold on a second, I gotta play it for you guys. Hold on. And just hold on a second. I wanted to play this. This guy, well, they're about to rest on her case. They did ask her, the judge. The judge, which her name is Allison. She looks like a man, y'all. She looks like a man. She's married to a woman. The judge, Allison. What's her last name? What's her last name? Hold on. But she looks just like a man. She's married to a woman. I mean, she look like a straight up dude. Hold on a second. Trying to get this for you. And I think, from what I've heard, I think she's not going to be, all her charges are not going to be given. They're going to do some not guilty on hers. She's not going to be found guilty on all of them. Because remember, she hasn't been charged with a RICO, so because the main witness did not testify, and the ones that did testify, their stories were so like chopped up, and they didn't have any recollection of a lot of things. So I don't think it's going to work out for the prosecutors. And her attorney was even arguing with the government, and it got to the point it was got heated, and the judge had to kind of um get in between the two of them. It was like horrible. Hold on a second, let me just see if I can pull it up. So hope you guys are doing well today. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can look it up. Oh, there we go. We got it. Okay. So I'm gonna play a little bit of it for you guys. This is I don't own the rights to this. This is someone that did the actual commentary from it, and she was saying how they were arguing. Okay, we're gonna go back. We're gonna go in a little bit. Okay. It was kind of weird stuff on here. I'm gonna start off. Let's see. Okay, I gotta do the one from today. Hold on a second. Just bear with me a second. Okay, this is the one I'm gonna do today. All right, here we go.
Which means we've got to wait for the stream to fire up.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Bear with me a second. Okay, now this is like the defense side coming up on the trial for today. So they're resting too, but I wanted to bring some highlights of what happened at the trial today. Hold on a second. All right, who's in here? Hey everybody. All right. Hey. I'm gonna let y'all listen to it, right? She probably don't like heterosexual relationship. But listen, now this is the FBI giving his testimony, and they're gonna discuss that here. Hold on a second.
Oh yeah, I know. And back when that happened in Palm Beach, I gotta ask, did you interview Carolyn? Don't say her name. You know, Carolyn. You know that one, the one that we have all anonymized. Agent Richard says, I did.
This is
Paliuka says,
this is the agent that's testifying, and this is Jesslyn Geslin's attorney questioning the agent. So what they're doing, they're using the prosecutor's witnesses and cross-examining, but they brought them as their own witness. And this is the agent that's coming up, the FBI agent that they there's two of them that they brought in to basically be their witness as well as the prosecutions. Hold on.
Call when you were talking to Caroline, you recall saying that she obtained Epstein's number from a phone book and that Epstein returned her call? Richard says, if that's what's in the 302 report, he's totally not cooperating. Like, I don't know. If that's what's in the report, it's in the report. So, as I said, you're calling law enforcement agents to defend a defendant or calling them as a witness in the defense of a defendant, not necessarily.
You heard that, right? They called a prosecution witness, which was the FBI special agent who was basically doing the investigation. They called him over as a witness. And basically, they're trying to basically tell what they put in the report was validated, I guess. And so they're honing in on what was in the report and which is totally different from what that girl testified, the Jane Doe.
Necessarily that they want to be there defending a defendant, but they're being used to defend a defendant. And so he gets a little bit snarky with it. Jeff Paliuka says, all right. So when you were back there, back in Palm Beach in 2006, and you were investigating all of this, and you interviewed Carolyn, and you talked to Carolyn, did she tell you that she had a phone book and there was a phone number, and she called and Epstein called her back? He goes, is it in the report? If it's in the report, then that's what it is. That's what I said. Did you read it? Paliuka says, no further questions. Because guess what? It is in the report. So he doesn't care. So he says, yep, there you go. It is in the report. So probably, get that admitted as an exhibit. Got exactly what he needs out of him. Even though he was
okay. The the special agent had placed in the report that the young lady went in the phone book and got Epstein's phone number and contact Epstein. And Epstein returned the phone call. So she's the one who sought him out, they were saying, and not him grooming her. So that's what they brought about in that, and that's why they was asking the um special agent about that. So basically, the special agent b- basically validated that it wasn't Epstein that went to look for that woman. It was the woman who went and searched for him and came to him. So okay, let me finish playing.
Little bit grumpy with him. No further questions. Cross examination comes out, and boom, it's done. Prosecutor says, "You show your 302s to those you speak to?" Richard says, "No, I don't." So, do you see what's happening here? What's in this 302 report is very useful to the defense. It's saying that Carolyn obtained Epstein's number from a phone book and that Epstein returned her call. Kind of sounds like Carolyn sought out Epstein, not like Epstein was grooming her and, creating this whole scheme and putting her through this. No, she got Epstein's number from a phone book. She called him and he called her back. Okay. He said it's in the report. The defense says that's great. He's not a grooming, whatever. And he just called her back. That's all he did. And so the prosecutor says, well, look, I know you wrote this. Did you show that to Carolyn? Like, did she approve that 302 report? Did she give you the thumbs up on that? Did you show it to her?
Yeah, doesn't that sound like Azriel's case? Do you remember when they were asking her questions in regarding to what was in the report? And she was saying that basically she didn't say that. And so then Kanik was asking her, grilling her about it. Do you remember that? This kind of reminded me of that right here. But now they're saying this prosecutor is asking the special agent that, okay, when you wrote the report, did you get her approval on what was written? And he said no. You see how they're creating something? So they basically saying that the special agent is putting false stuff in there. That's what the prosecutor in this case is seeming like they're saying. Yeah, I get this Sandra person. They're trying to so that's what it seems like, right? All right, let me finish playing this. Just a second.
At all? He says, no, I didn't. There you go. Next question. Amanda Young, next special agent comes out.
This is another
Maxwell's
special agent.
lawyer. Don't know who it is. Might be manager. We'll see. Agent Young. Was your partner back then Detective Burns? Young says, yeah. And we both checked those 302, those summaries. We both read the summaries. And you just heard Miss Comey's question to Agent Richards. Didn't you? She says, yeah. And you heard him say that the 302s, they're not actually transcripts, right? They're not. That's because they're summaries, aren't they? That's right. So it's your interpretation. Okay, yeah. Maxwell's lawyer continues, says, and you, when you were completing these 302s, you're the person who actually interviewed Annie Farmer, didn't you? Yeah, I did. And you talked to her about the boots, right? The boots that Laura Menninger admitted into evidence as exhibits. Special Agent Young says, yeah, I did. Yeah, the boots, we got those boots locked. Thank you all.
Oh, sorry.
For coming.
Sorry, guys. Hold on. Okay, now I was gonna say something about the boots. They're basically dissecting everything that the prosecutor put in. They're gonna talk about how the boots, the year that the boots were made, and also, one of the Jane Does claimed that she went, went to see the play, um, Lion King, right? So they trying to say that she went to see Lion King in 1994, but Lion King the play didn't come out until 1997. The movie Lion King came out in 1994. But the girl saying that she specifically remember that she was at the play, so meaning that she was much older. She was 3 years older instead of 1994, which she's claiming to be, and it's not the time when the movie actually a movie came out in 94, and the because I went to see Lion King in 94, and I saw Lion King the real one when 97. So I saw both of them in on Broadway. I saw the Lion King. So they probably was there the same time I was there. Wow. Isn't that weird? Anyway, but let me go ahead play it.
Special Agent Young says, yeah, I did. Yeah, the boots, we got those boots. Law enforcement obtained those this year. I don't remember which month, but definitely this year. We got them. Maxwell's lawyer says, okay, well, I've got something else I'd like to show you here, Special Agent. Why don't you go ahead and read this? Young picks it up, starts reading. It says, quote, in the beginning, Jane would be with her mother and brothers at the Epstein house, end quote. Manager then chimes in and says, all right, thank you. I want you to turn to page 7. You wrote, Jane did not recall specific abuse that may have occurred in New Mexico, didn't you? So back when you wrote this in your 302, can you read this for me? In the beginning, she says, Jane would be with her mother and brother at the Epstein house. Okay, thank you. Flip it over to page 7. Now it says here, let me read this for you. It says, you wrote, Jane did not recall specific abuse that may have occurred in New Mexico. You wrote that, right? Yes, I did. Thank you. Maxwell's lawyer says, just to emphasize, the boots, those were discussed recently, right? Yes, they were. The boots, which have been admitted as evidence in this case. They're coming back in. Cross-examination comes out. Might be Comey. All right, Miss Young.
You see how her attorneys are dissecting everything? They're very, very specific, very detailed in what is being said. Very, very meticulous and very detailed. They're tearing up the prosecution. They're creating doubt in everything that's being said. Now the girl can't even remember what happened, and because the report is totally different from what the girl said. That's why I'm thinking that they're not, if they get anything, it'll probably be one charge, but I don't think they're going to win. I really don't, because they're tearing it apart, tearing it.
You're a special agent now. You're on boot duty. What'd you do before that? She says, well, I actually interviewed children about child abuse. Hard pause right there. They walk up to the judge's bench. There's a sidebar. We watch Amanda Young, the special agent, just sitting there in the plexiglass. She's wearing a blue shirt, a little dark, black jacket, which coincidentally happens to look exactly like that FBI agent. Dark blue shirt, black jacket that I picked off of Google Images. Nice. Judge Nathan says, all right, jurors, disregard that statement about Agent Young's previous job interviewing children. Okay, we're not going to be talking about any of that. It's not relevant. So prosecutor still continues. Talking about Jane, she said, did Jane need more than one meeting to say what happened? Maxwell's lawyers scream, objection, beyond the scope. What does that mean? It means that during the direct exam, they didn't ask her about any of that. When Maxwell's lawyers were asking Amanda Young about her interviews, or I should be more clear, they didn't ask about interviews. They asked about one interview, that one interview. And now the prosecution wants to ask about all the other interviews.
Uh-oh.
Well, they didn't ask about that. So how can they cross-examine them about something that they didn't ask about. It's not
Mm-hmm.
a free-for-all. You don't just get to come in there and just talk about whatever the heck you want. It's got to be within the scope of what came out on the direct exam.
And this is what the prosecution was allowed to do in Robert's case. They were allowed to just go all over the place where the defense didn't even go. So I'm telling you, Maxwell's attorney, they're on it. They are on it. Hold on.
So the defense was very careful with this. They asked her about one interview and one interview only. And as soon as the prosecution went off into the other interviews, objection beyond the scope. Prosecutor says, well, I'm going to try this another way then. That's probably true. It probably is beyond the scope. Let me just try it again. Okay, who was there for the interviews? Boom, Maxwell's lawyer again, objection. Beyond the scope. I didn't ask about that. I didn't talk about who was there. I didn't say anything about that. There's a short redirect that comes through.
You hear that, right?
Manager comes back out and says, okay, Miss Special Agent Young, these notes that I was just reading you from, the same one that you said that Jane didn't report any abuse, those notes? You used these notes with the grand jury, didn't you? When you signed off on that indictment. Young says, yes, some of them. Manager says, did you show her the 302s? I think she's referring to Jane. And Young says, no, it's not ethical. It's not appropriate. And Manager says, and when you have these conversations with these people, like you're sitting there talking to Jane, right? You did the interview with her. You wrote down that she didn't have any recollection of abuse back there in New Mexico. You don't record these interviews. She says, no, only the people in custody. So only the people that we arrest. We don't record the victims. We don't record the witnesses.
Uh-oh.
Only those in custody, not the other people. And you also don't show them the 302s? She says, no, it's not ethical. It's not appropriate. Manager continues, are you familiar with how the Department of Justice obtains evidence and what their protocols are? Prosecutor screams out, objection, Judge Nathan, overruled. Manager says, I've got a document. I can show it.
Uh-oh.
Okay, and so it sounds like what we have here is a little bit of sort of impeachment going on here.
Uh-oh.
You don't record them. You don't record these witnesses. You don't. And then what she's doing is she's saying, let me show you the actual protocols. You say you don't do things a certain way. Let me show you the protocols that say something different. I've got a document. I can show you. Here's what it says about recording victims. Here's what it says about recording witnesses. Did you do that? Oh. Weird. If you didn't do any of those things.
Uh-oh.
Wonder what that might mean. Don't know. We get a nice summation of this over from the New York Times. We know that this was Jane. Remember Jane? She was the first one that we heard from. Crying on the stand, very upset. There was an allegation back then that came out of Jane specifically. Jane said during her direct exam that Maxwell and Epstein would summon people up into that room, and there would be a group activity going on in there. Wild group activities. Defense lawyers had asked Jane back during cross-examination. So remember, rewind back to this. Jane's the first victim who comes out here. She tells the whole story. Where'd they take you? What'd they do? Where'd they buy you? What, all of these things. She says they'd walk into a room, one thing would turn into another. Next thing you know, there's 5 people in there, all just going at each other. And what happens here is she's asked by the defense, okay, you keep talking about these little events that take place in the Epstein mansion. Who was there? Who was with you during all of these things? And she rattles off a bunch of names. She says, oh, Sophie was there, obviously. Ava was there. She was crazy. Emmy was there. Emmy, Michelle and Kelly. They were all there for all of these activities. They all participated. And in fact, Jane says, if you call them, they're going to be able to corroborate that. Yeah, they can remember that. Nobody is going to forget those affairs. And so that came out during Jane's testimony. And so what did the defense do? Easy. They just said, easy. We can do this. No problem. So you say that Sophie, Ava, Emmy, Michelle, and Kelly. They were all there.
And you know what the funny thing is? Watch, when you listen to it, they're gonna bring Ava around, and Ava's gonna basically say she never took part of any of that stuff. Then they're gonna bring the lady I used to work with for him. She's gonna also say she never took part of it. She'd never been on a plane or anything like that. So I mean, the her not jury, her attorneys was like turning there's not one rock that wasn't overturned. Every single rock they opened is make sure there was no bugs under there, meaning that they scrutinized every single part of the testimony that those women was given. They basically made them look like liars. Just listen.
Perfect. Well, we're just going to go find them and we're going to ask them about this. Since you said that they were there, we're just going to go round them up and ask them about these little events, because certainly they would remember these, right? This is what the scene looked like. This was Ava Anderson Dubin. Here is a little bit about her.
Okay, now Ava's thing is really, really strange, y'all. Just listen to what this attorney is saying about Ava. Ava is the one that the Jane Doe said that was participating in the activities that was going on with Epstein and the other women, right? The Jane Doe claims that Ava participated in it. Now, Ava used to date Epstein back in the early 80s, and their relationship ended, but they still kept a friendship. In fact, the guy that because Ava's from I think Sweden, one of those places. She was a model and all this kind of stuff, but she ended up marrying a billionaire, and she's a doctor. Well, she's no longer practicing, but they also brought out that her daughter at the time when she was 19, Epstein says that if he was to marry, he would marry the Ava's daughter, who was 19 at the time. But just continue to listen to this craziness. Hold on.
A little bit about her. Over from Wikipedia, she is now a Swedish physician. She's a doctor. She's the founder of the Dubin Breast Center and the Cancer Institute in New York City. She's married to a hedge fund billionaire. Guy's name is Glenn Dubin, so I think she took that last name there. She worked as a model, and she won the Miss Sweden contest back in 1980. She was the fourth runner-up of Miss Universe. She was Miss Sweden in 1980. Worked with Ford Models Agency. Let's see. They donated $19 million since 2011. They processed a number of different patients.
$19 billion her and her husband donated to different agency. That is a lot of money. Since 2011, they donated $19 billion. Wow. Dang, that is some money. Some rich money. Hey, Koopy. Hey, Denise. Hey, Sandra. So it's just like, wow. Let me play this.
Let's see. She was a model. Eileen Ford, there was a model agency, said she was excellent. Oh, this is funny. Yeah. Ava Anderson, she was entered into the Miss Sweden contest without her knowledge, and then she won. It's nice. It's very nice when you can just be entered into a contest without even knowing about it, and you just win. Here's a little video I found on YouTube of Ava.
Eva Anderson, Sweden.
And Miss Sweden, Ava Andersson. Followed by two Scandinavian dudes. Number 2 is Miss Sweden.
He just showing a video of her when she won a pageant. So he's just showing a clip, and it's pretty old looking, back in the early 80s. Mind you, she's 60 years old now.
Miss Sweden.
Agnes is a brown-eyed brunette. She's 18 years old, she weighs 118 pounds, and she's 5 feet 8 inches tall.
She's skinny,
All right.
118 pounds. Wow.
So, I think that was a little bit before my time because I was born in 1985. And I think that was like back in the 1980s, right? She won back in the 1980s. Were they rating women like on the screen back then? Did you see that like 7.65? Like they were actually rating these women on screen? Woo, man, All right, that's interesting. Interesting thing. Times have changed. So a little bit about this woman's personal life. You can see here that she did, in fact, date Jeffrey Epstein. Uh-oh. And guess what else, folks? Even after Epstein was in jail, after he pled guilty in 2008, she still, quote, continued to socialize with him. See that? Ava Anderson even continued to socialize with Epstein after his time in jail, after he had already
Now, this
been
is the stuff I was
convicted
telling you, the sick
for
stuff they're about to say.
procuring
Watch.
prostitution. All right. Back in the early 1990s, she was seen by her future husband, Glenn Dubin, for the first time via a modeling photo in the page 6 section. And I guess when you're a billionaire, like Epstein or like maybe Glenn Dubin, you just see somebody on New York Post page 6 or on a stage like that, and you say 7.6. Yeah, that's a good one. I'll take that. How much? And they just insane. I guess I don't know how that works. Anyway, so this woman, you can see here, now happily married and has the entire Epstein saga beyond her. Well, except for today when she was hauled into court to testify for this thing. Looks like a very nice family. Now, if you recall, if you've been with this channel for some time, you know that we've looked at this photograph before. Why is that? Well, here you can see Ava Anderson Dubin. You can see Mr. Glenn Dubin in the middle there. And then you can see their nice, lovely daughter there on the right. Who is that daughter? Oh, that was Jeffrey Epstein's prospective fiance. What?
You
Yeah,
hear
that's
that?
right. He wanted to marry the daughter of his ex-girlfriend. Okay.
Isn't that weird, isn't it?
Jeffrey Epstein wanted to marry this girl. Okay, let's back this up for a minute in case we missed this. He had already dated mom for a long time back in the 1980s. Already dated mom. Jeffrey Epstein, according to this article, once wanted to marry an ex-girlfriend's teenage daughter who called him Uncle Jeff, according to the report. Okay? Epstein openly declared his plans to wed Selena Dubin. That's this gal right here.
Wow.
Remember, he already dated mom. He's the daughter of former Miss Sweden, Ava Anderson, who had dated Epstein for 11 years until the early 90s. The pair had developed, quote, an especially close relationship when Selena was just 12, with, quote, Uncle Jeff at times having substituted for her dad, the Palm Beach Post has previously reported, citing a profile made by Epstein's lawyers.
See, I hear this, right? Yeah, I hear
Epstein
this.
was telling associates in 2014 that if he ever married, it would be to Selena, who was 19 at the time.
Now, come on now.
Sources
How
told
can you
business.
say if you're going to marry, you'll marry the daughter of your ex-girlfriend? Isn't that freaking weird? That could have been your daughter.
Insider. Okay, now listen to this. Now, this article came out from December 18, 2019. All right, 10:45 a.m. Just over 2 years, just under 2 years. Oh, it's 2 years ago tomorrow. How about that? 2 years ago tomorrow, this article came out. And you notice here in this article, they quote this Uncle Jeff thing here. Weird, Uncle Jeff. Weird Uncle Jeff comes over, and he's just going to substitute. He dated mommy for 11 years. Now he wants to marry daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Glenn, the multi-billionaire, apparently was okay with Uncle Jeff being substituted for her dad. What the effing F is what is going on? I have no idea what the heck is happening right now.
It's weird, ain't it, y'all?
What? Okay, so Uncle Jeff comes over, hangs out with mom, dated for 11 years. She's married to a billionaire, wants to marry the daughter. She's only 19 back in 2014. And the whole thing, I guess, is just okay. It's a great crowd.
Just weird.
I wanted to just.
Sorry.
This is just
Weird.
okay.
Weird.
So that's who comes in and testifies. So now she's up here. Ava Dubbin is in the house. Maxwell's lawyer
now
calls
this is
her
her
up into the
testimony.
stand and says, "Can you tell me your name?" She says, "Yes, I'm Ava Anderson. And I go by Ava Anderson Dubin. I live in New York City. I'm 60 years old. Thank you." Maxwell's team says, "And you're married to Glenn Dubin, right?" Ava says, "Yeah, 28 years, happily married. 3 kids, 27, 25, and 20. How about the genders of those kids?" Ava says, "Female, male, female. Wonder which one Selena is." Maxwell's lawyer says, "And what is Mr. Dubin for employment?" She says he's self-employed. He's a billionaire. She says, "I was previously employed
Billionaire,
as a medical
y'all.
doctor."
Billionaire.
"Oh, a medical doctor. Tell me more about that. You must be very credentialed. You must be somebody who's very reliable and credible. Tell me more, doctor." Ava says, "I went to medical school. I went back in Stockholm, and then I went to UCLA. And after that, I went to Lenox Hill. It was a hospital in New York City where I saved many people's lives." "Well, that's great. Thanks for being here today. And Ava, can you tell us a little bit more about Epstein? How did you know him?" Ava says, "Well, we dated." "Oh, how long was that for?" She says, "Oh, off and on, 1983 to 1991. You know how these things are. You break up, you get back together. You break up again. We all know how that goes."
Yep.
It
we know
continues. Maxwell's lawyer says, "And that's a long time from 1983 to 1991. My goodness. Throughout that entirety, let me ask you, did you ever witness any particular contact between Mr. Epstein and U.S. prosecutor Allison Moe is so angry she stands up and she screams, 'Objection, Judge!'" Can't ask that. The judge says, hold up. You can't ask about, did you ever witness any contact between Epstein and somebody else? They go up there, they have a sidebar. They come back. That question doesn't sound like it comes back in. Maxwell's lawyer continues. "All right, Ava. I want to show you some photographs here under seal. Is one person Mr. Epstein and the other one of your children?" Ava says, "Yeah. It's the 20-year-old. I've never seen this picture before." Scary thought for a mother. Maxwell's lawyer says, "All right, well, let me ask you about these flight records then, Ava."
Mm-hmm.
And Ava says, "Not much, because it's all redacted. Don't get to see any of this stuff. Remember the flight records. We've heard a lot about these from Visowski. We've heard about these from the other pilot. His name escapes me, but he is on the mind map. Going through the flight logs, talking about people being on there and off of there. We know that Jane identified somebody named Ava as part of these group activities that took place all over the world. And Ava's now looking at the flight logs. Judge Nathan gives the jurors a break. We're still in the mid-morning here. But remember, we started late. There were multiple objections from the government talking about, publishing the flight logs. And the judge
They even got into a heated argument.
sustains those objections, doesn't allow certain documents to come in. So testimony continues. They come back after a short break. We still have Laura Menninger, and she's still doing the direct exam. Remember, this is the defense case in chief. And so we're listening to Ava Anderson Dubin, who was Epstein's former ex for 11 years, talking about these flight logs. Menninger says to Ava, "I want you to look at this exhibit. It's GX662R. These are the redacted flight logs of Dave Roberts. Can you see this, Dr. Dubin?"
Mm-hmm.
Judge Nathan says, "Can we make sure that that's redacted? And if it is, then we can publish it." And remember that we have seen these. These were the ones that had huge blacked out, just in whole swaths of this page were it was just basically a big black page. On the screen, then we see the flight.
Mm-hmm.
It says JE. It says Ava Anderson. And it also says Miss Frances Hardeen. So you see those 3 names. Ava, do you remember Frances Hardeen? Ava says, "Well, I remember Frances. I didn't know her last name, but yeah, I definitely remember her, Frances. And Menninger says, and you knew that Epstein was dating her? And Ava says, yeah, I did. Yeah. Epstein and Frances and Jeffrey and Frances, two little lovebirds. Ava, I want to show you another exhibit. This is GX12. And now only for the witness in the court, the unredacted exhibit. This has been sealed. So of course, nothing gets shown on the screen. Can't see any of it. Do you recognize anybody in this? Ava says, yeah, I recognize Sophie Biddle.
Mm-hmm.
Who's Sophie Biddle? Oh, she's a massage therapist. Yeah, and I see my husband's name. So now I think we can glean what we're looking at. Might be a log. It might be a record, an invoice. She's looking at something that has her husband's name on it. We see a massage therapist named Sophie Biddle. Was Sophie one of the names that Jane talked about being in those group activities? Maybe. Maxwell's lawyer continues. All right, don't say the name. Don't say it. Do you see that name on this list? She says yes. That name is Jane's real name. Jane's real name is on the same list as Sophie Biddle, a massage therapist, and her husband's name. So it must be just a pretty benign list. Jane's name is on there, and Ava can see it. Maxwell's lawyer says, have you ever been in a group activity with Jane? And Ava says, I have not. Name's on the list, massage, the whole thing. I have never participated. We get a different interpretation of this from the New York Times. And they're telling us that this is directly contradicting Jane's testimony. Remember, Jane back then said she was abused by Maxwell and Epstein. This all took place when she was 14 or 15. She said that there would be this thing that would happen where they would summon them up into this room, up into Epstein's bedroom, and they would turn into this big group affair. And then while cross-examining Jane, the defense said, who else was there? Jane said, when she was testifying, when Laura was asking her questions, that Ava joined in on the party. But Ava here says, I never did. Ava, in fact, says, I don't recall ever meeting this person. So Jane is saying that Ava was a part of these affairs. Ava's saying, I don't even know who you're talking about. And I was never a part of any of that. Now, something else came out. Remember we were talking about Ava and her daughter that Epstein wanted to marry? Sick. Epstein's a long-time girlfriend was questioned about this. And she said that they remained close. In fact, they viewed him as someone akin to an uncle. She said that today. After she split in the 90s, we were close, and he was kind of like an uncle. In fact, they called him Uncle F, she said of her kids' relationship. So even to this day, that same article that we read from back in 2019, 2 years ago, 2 years to the day, still calling Epstein Uncle F. Now, she comes out and says, I never witnessed anything, never saw any abuse from a child, nothing from 1994, nothing to 2004, nothing listed in the Maxwell indictment at all. Good old Uncle F. Or Uncle Jeff. Cross-examination now happens. Allison Moe, government prosecutor, comes out. Pretty simple. Hey, Ava, quick question. Are you the only Ava in the whole wide world? Maxwell's lawyers scream, objection, that's irrelevant. What kind of a ridiculous question is that? And Judge Nathan says, no, that's overruled. You can ask that. And so that gets allowed to be answered, right? And so what Allison Moe is doing, with a little bit of spice, I got to say, Ava, yeah. Jane said that there was somebody named Ava who was a part of these group activities. You said that wasn't you. Do you think, and could be crazy, do you think that there could be other Avas out there that maybe Jane was talking about that wasn't you? And the defense says, you can't ask that question. That's irrelevant. So the judge overrules that. And Ava says, no, I'm sure there's other Avas out there because it's a pretty common name. And so Mo then continues. Did you ever discuss with Epstein his relationship with Maxwell? Objection, hearsay. That's an out-of-court statement. You can't talk about that. Judge sustains that. So that question goes bye-bye. Mo, though, continues and asks her about her memory a little bit. This is interesting. Mo says, Ava, look, I'm sorry to do this. Respectfully, I got to ask you, though, you have any issues with your memory? She says, I can't remember things from last month. I mean, honestly. Maxwell's lawyer says, hey, look, this doesn't need to be discussed, okay? All that got out in front of the jury. Ava can't remember anything from last month. So prosecutor Mo says, all right, that's it. I got nothing further. New York Times gave us a little bit more detail here. Ava said specifically, quote, it's very hard for me to remember anything far back, and sometimes I can't remember things from last month. My family notices it. I notice it. In fact, it's been an issue. So, what do you take from that? Here, you bring in a witness who is supposed to be testifying about what she remembers. Guess what? She doesn't remember anything about these group activity affairs. She doesn't remember Jane. She doesn't remember any of those introductions, apparently. But she also can't remember what happened last month sometimes. So, good or bad? Remember, we talked about this. The defense said it. Memory, money, and manipulation. We have another memory. So that was Ava Anderson Dubin, Epstein's former girlfriend, testifying, Ghislaine Maxwell trial, day 12. Our next witness is another person named Michelle, who also didn't participate in any group activities. So she says. Laura Menninger called her to the stand. Michelle Healy, a former Epstein employee, somebody who worked at the J. Epstein & Co. organization, she's called up to the stand. Ms. Healy, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? Well, I'm 47 years old. I live in Dallas. What kind of work do you do? Well, I'm a housewife. No, that's nice. Well, what does your husband do? Well, he's an architect. And how about family? You have any family anywhere? Well, my sister, Shannon, she's in Albuquerque. And I grew up in Long Island. I've been living in New York for a long time. As 1974, I'd say back all the way up to 1999. Menninger says, thank you. If we rewind the clock back to 1996, where did you work back then? J. Epstein and Company. Oh, thank you. And when you were working for Epstein, what kind of work did you do? She says, well, I went to Zorro Ranch. Oh, what brought you there? Well, my sister had a job there and I was working there. And so I went to go there and work with my sister. Menninger says, and when you were there at the Zorro Ranch, were you ever involved in any group activities with Jane? And Healy says, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Not just no. I mean, absolutely not. Which, makes it that much more true. We get cross-examination here. So Mo comes back out. No, it's Comey's back out and asks the same question. Michelle, Jane said that there was a Michelle participating in all of these affairs. You say you did not participate in those. That's right. Absolutely not. I did not do any of that. Okay. Well, they say Jane said that there was a Michelle there. Could it be possible that there are other Michelles in the world? Or are you the only Michelle in the world? And Michelle says, well, I certainly hope not. And Mo says, and you never flew on Epstein's plane either? Healy says no. And that's it. Nothing further from Healy. So now we're wrapping this puppy up. And we're trying to figure out what's happening with these next witnesses. Are we going to be done? Yes or no? Both attorneys are in front of the court talking with Judge Nathan. Judge says, listen, I always say, I have so many bridges to cross, I only cross the bridge that is in front of me. Maxwell's lawyer is still pushing to have this Nags Head pub witness come in and testify. We talked about him at the start of the show. Maxwell says, listen, all I want to do is put in the property records about these property that we're talking about. These are self-authenticating. Don't even need to have any conversation about it. They authenticate themselves. Don't need a witness. And so Judge Nathan says, well, listen, what do we have after lunch? We're going to let the jurors go for a break. Maxwell's attorney says, well, we're going to get together and we're going to work on the stipulations. We're going to work on these factual agreements that we can come to and get admitted in front of the juries. So Judge Nathan says, whoa, are you saying that there's no more defense witnesses? I'm going to be spending my remaining lunch hour then reviewing Kelly. Probably a different case. Prosecutor says, if not Monday morning, it's too late. Judge says it's going to be a long break for the jury. Try to confer. And guess what? That happened. They were out basically all day until 2:25. Comes and goes. Inner City Press is there. Joe Neerman is there. Addy Ads on Twitter is there. All of the good journalists who are covering this case are sitting there wondering what the heck is going on out there. And it turns out the attorneys are conferring. Inner City Press says jury's still out, 2:25 p.m. Nothing's going on. Jury's still not back. It's 2:42 p.m. This is a very long lunch that's taking place. But now inside the courtroom, Judge Nathan is saying, that's it. Clock is ticking. We're out of time. If you don't have anything to present, I'm going to be doing the allocution. I'm going to be asking Ghislaine Maxwell if she intends to testify. We're getting to a close on this thing. We remember what Judge Allison Nathan's rule was at the start of this. You get your next witness lined up or you rest. We're not playing this game. So Maxwell now has to make a decision. Do we testify? Do I talk? Do I take the stand and tell my side of the story? Yes or no? Maxwell is talking at length with her lawyer, Bobby Sternheim, and everybody else. You can see what that looked like in court today. You can see on the left, we have Bobby Sternheim in a purple mask leaning over. Ghislaine Maxwell, of course, in the center, getting advice from 4 different sides. Looks like Laura Menninger on the top right. Very likely Jeff Paliuka there in the center, and Christian Everdell crouching down on the floor, having conversations with Ghislaine about what to do. Testify, yes or no. And they make a decision. Trial continues. Judge Nathan has now returned, and Prosecutor Comey says, we've reached some stipulations. While they're talking, the judge says, how long do we have to read these stipulations? Comey says, it's about 10 to 15 minutes. I mean, there's kind of a lot of these things. And what are we talking about? Menninger wants them to take judicial notice of a 1996 case. This had to do with a leased building to Epstein. And so they're going to talk about that. Getting some documents in, admitted. Judge Nathan comes out with another ruling and says specifically, I'm going to be sustaining an objection given the posture of that case, so that it sounds like that document is not going to be coming in. There was an old deposition of Epstein. It sounds like in the old deposition, the government's goal wasn't what it is here. Yeah, so they're going to keep this excluded. It sounds like that was from a different civil case. The defense wanted to get that in. Judge is saying no. Now, Maxwell's lawyer is not happy about this, it sounds like. Sounds like Menninger is getting a little bit agitated. It says, Judge, listen, Jane said that Epstein was living at 9 East 71st Street back in 1994. But this case says different. I'm trying to show you we have another case from a civil lawsuit that says something differently. Okay, your witness, Jane, who we've already shown, really can't remember much of anything, is highly problematic. Her testimony doesn't match what we know to be true that came out of a different lawsuit. Judge Nathan says, listen, I have already ruled on this, okay? It is not coming in. And I heard no arrest warrant for Kelly. No need to arrest Kelly Bolino. Okay, so it's not coming in. And I heard no arrest warrant for Kelly. So Kelly Bolino would have been that other person that they issued a subpoena for. So that third person that they're alleging participated in those group activities is also not coming in. And the government says, we're done too. We don't have any rebuttal case. Yeah, we got everything we needed in our 7.5 or 8 days of testimony. So that's all that we've got. So what happens next? The allocution. Ghislaine Maxwell speaks. Judge Nathan says, Miss Maxwell, please rise. Miss Maxwell, the decision to testify or not is your decision. Nobody can force you to testify. Nobody can force you not to testify. Nobody can promise you anything to get you to testify. You have a right to tell your side of the story. It's guaranteed in the Constitution. Do you understand these rights? Do you understand what happens if you give up these rights? Do you wish to give up these rights? Maxwell says, Your Honor, the government had not proved its case beyond a reasonable doubt, so there is no need for me to testify. Here's what that looked like as she stood up and received the allocution. You can see her there with her multi-million-dollar defense team. New York Post gives us a different read here. This is Ben Feuerherd, who's also boots on the ground doing great work. She said in court she's not going to testify. She told Judge Allison Nathan, Your Honor, the government has not proven its case beyond a reasonable doubt. Nathan had asked her, I want to make sure you understand this. You have the right to testify. The decision not to do it is your decision. Even if your attorneys say you should not testify, you have the right to do that, right? And you really don't want to do this? Maxwell says, Your Honor, that is correct. New stipulations are now coming in. We've got Laura Menninger and some of the other attorneys are reading stuff into the record. These are agreements. A stipulation is an agreement between both parties, both sides, the defense and the prosecution. One stipulation, one agreement is that the boots were seized by the FBI on June 29th. Okay, they're agreeing that date. Those boots, they came from the FBI in June of this year, like a couple months ago. So they needed to determine that and agree upon that, and they've done that. Also, when The Lion King opened, they agreed on that. Remember, that's a big issue. We'll take a look at that. And they also agreed that Dominic Hippolyte would testify that the Palm Beach school maintains records, right? And we knew that we actually heard from that witness a little bit. Now, remember that Lion King issue we talked about? Remember Jane said that Epstein said that, Jane said that she went and saw The Lion King, the Broadway play. Remember when that happened? We looked this up here. Yeah, it looks like when it was on Broadway, Wikipedia says this took place in 1997. And so, of course, Jane was born in a certain year. And so if she went and saw this, The Lion King, the movie, well, this came out in 1994. And if she went and saw that on an opening day or something, when it was still in theaters, or when we would have to go into it, a location to see it, she would obviously be younger in 1994 than she would be in 1997. But from her conversations with her attorney, she was pretty dang adamant that she saw the play, not the movie, because she said she was sitting in the pews in the play, looking up at the actress, and Epstein was saying, I know that lady or whatever. She came to my Christmas party. So there's a big discrepancy there. And they just agreed about that. And so the jurors are going to be playing with that. That's another tool that they're going to have in their toolbox to play around with as they're going through their deliberations. We're getting close to the finish of this day. We've got now Inner City Press reporting that the boots were seized. And as soon as those stipulations are over, guess what happens? The defense rests. Not even 2 full days of a defense, maybe a day and a half. A late start and an early close. Prosecutor also stands up. The U.S. has no further case. They're done too. So Judge Nathan stands and says, jurors, You're going to hear closing arguments, and then I'm going to instruct you on the law. And you're going to begin deliberations. Monday, I asked that we start at 9 a.m. It's possible we're going to be going till 6. Don't forget, continue to follow my instructions. No communications with each other or anyone else about the case. Keep an open mind until summations and my instructions, and be cautious out there. I want to see everybody back here Monday at 9 a.m. sharp. All rise. And the jurors are on their way. They're out. It's Friday. They're home. They're getting a cocktail. They're getting some Grubhub. They're going and watching Netflix, and they're chilling. And they have a tall order for them when they return back on Monday, because we're going to hear closing arguments. Then we're going to turn it over to the jurors for a verdict. And a lot of people are sort of calculating the timelines on this thing. Could we get a verdict before Christmas? Could there be a Christmas miracle for somebody in this country? What about for Ghislaine Maxwell? You know, there's lists of naughty or nice. What happens if Ghislaine Maxwell gets a Christmas miracle and she's exonerated? What if on Christmas morning you wake up and Ghislaine Maxwell's a free woman? Well, somebody would be celebrating two things that day. Not only would Ghislaine Maxwell be celebrating a Christmas miracle, but Ghislaine Maxwell would also be celebrating her birthday, because her birthday is on December 25th, 1961.
You hear that, y'all? Her birthday is on Christmas Day. Can you believe that? Her birthday is on Christmas Day.
25th, 1961. So this Christmas season, when everybody's sitting around the Christmas tree, singing Christmas carols, you might also want to throw in a happy birthday, Ghislaine, while you're there with your family. I'm gonna vomit my guts up. This case is the most insane case. Like, what is happening? Why is all of this? Oh, I saw it and I was just like, the timing, and then it's her birthday. The whole thing is just, it'll make you go crazy. All right. So you don't actually have to sing her happy birthday. Okay. I was joking about that. Let's see what you have to say about this case and more from our friends over at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. And we had some super chats come in. Shout out to our friends on YouTube.
Okay.
Dryan is saying,
that's basically it. I was just letting you guys hear what happened in court today. Hold on, let me just finish this off.
Same thing could happen with Ghislaine. Okay, we get her convicted. What do you convict her on? Jane? Because it sounds like Annie Farmer and Kate were were not actually allowed to be victims here. So you're already sort of you're already sort of 1-2. Daniel David says, I notice sometimes the live chat on Locals is hard to reach. Thank you for that feedback, Daniel.
Okay,
I didn't know that. I did have some
but that's basically it on what happened. So guys, what do y'all think? What do you think? Nikki! Good night. Hey Rashad. Hey Trudy. Trudy trying to laugh. I'm not asleep, Trudy. She said, is that Sylvia snoring? Lord have mercy. But that was it on that part. I was trying to see what else other stories did I have for you today. And that's basically it. Anybody got any question? I miss you too. And kiss the baby for me, Nikki. Kiss the baby. I know he's getting so big. Sounds like it's raining outside. I'm about to end. He's getting into everything. Hey, Trudy, he was talking about what happened today in the Gasoline case, the defense rest and the prosecution, well, the defense is poking holes in all the testimonies that was given by the different people, you know. All right, guys, I'm about to get off this live. I just wanted to share some stuff with you guys. I have to go back and listen. Okay. All right, guys. I am going to say night night to everyone. I'll see you guys in the morning, and we're going to go and do our daily affirmation. I didn't get a chance to go live with you guys with it. Well, good night, Samantha. Good night, PDQ. Good night, Trudy. Good night, Nikki. Good night, Rashad. Good night, let's see, Koopy. Good night, everybody. All right. I'll see you guys later. Good night.